Like your recipe might be different. Yeah, the things to keep hanging out with friends. Hanging out with friends is free. You know, go to events, go to the library. There's public places that are, you know, the park. You could meet some people. Going out for hikes, going dancing. Sometimes dancing costs a little bit of money. Renting movies is a lot more expensive than going out to a movie.
Or pirating movies even cheaper.
Pirating movies are even cheaper. What about this? Share a Netflix account. Is this too crazy? Like you have two families, or you know, they don't even be next to each other. Like Netflix allows you to
pirate everything.
Yeah, or you can pirate everything. Okay.
Okay, I like that. Netflix too.
Netflix allows you to have two devices at once. So you just agree that each family will only do it one device at a time.
Even more. Yeah, you can do.
I thought they limited you to two devices at once. Okay, okay. Share Netflix accounts.
It's like 3 or 5
me.
Devices into that, you can have like 5 accounts.
I think it's 5 accounts, 3
But I don't know how many devices you have.
A lot of people have Wi-Fi these days with a $50 router that's like a kind of a long distance, powerful wireless router. You can share internet connection with your neighbors on either side of you. You're talking to a neighbor like, hey, I'm going to get a high-speed internet connection with a super powerful Wi-Fi router. Let me take a device over at your house and let's see what kind of signal you get. If you get all 4 bars, do you want to like split this internet connection? Like make sure you do it. Make sure you do this with neighbors like that you feel good about, because like if they start surfing on like child pornography or something, the police might be knocking at your door. But like this is just an idea. If you like these people and you pretty much trust them.
The thing with what you're talking about is you just have open Wi-Fi.
Well, I mean, what if you gave the neighbors your password?
No, you want to have it open Wi-Fi because
then if they do something illegal, you have plausible deniability.
Okay, I don't know the legalities and how that works.
Because if you give them your password,
yeah.
it doesn't, you know, and they're on there.
Okay.
Then you've basically given them permission to do whatever they want, and you're culpable for whatever they do that's illegal.
Oh, yeah.
If it's open, then you can say, I don't know who did it.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well then these guys sound like they're smart on this issue. I'm willing to trust them. Yeah. Okay. So say I'm willing to open up my Wi-Fi if you'd be willing to chip in, and if sharing with both neighbors on either side of you reduces your internet by 50%, isn't that a beautiful thing, right?
No.
And what really we need to do is have one person bring the internet in for a neighborhood, and then have a mesh network set up to where the entire neighborhood can all share that one connection.
Yeah. Yeah. Sex is free, right? Have lots of sex, you know. Right. Well, usually free. Okay. I qualify that.
Depends.
Yeah. All right.
Kids are expensive though, so use protection.
Yeah, find that fun. Find that cheap fun. Get together with people. Enjoy yourselves. Yeah. Libertarian, libertines, very close. Enjoy them both. You know? Yeah. Miscellaneous. It is possible, especially, oh gosh, we save so much money on buying clothes for our kids by about 1 second hand. You know, I wash it and a little bit of, you know, put a little bleach in there just in case, whatever. And I wash it. I actually put it in the dryer in that case in case, you know, to kill whatever. And then after that, I can close up. But they grow out of the clothes so fast, you know, like, golly, if I need clothes, like, secondhand is a beautiful thing. You can find so many cool stuff, especially if you're a single person trying to outfit your kitchen. Oh my gosh, like the Goodwill places and Salvation Army, you can outfit a kitchen for like 20 bucks. Pots and pans and plates and flatware, yard sales, garage sales, yeah, absolutely.
Garage sales and yard sales are usually better than the resale and consignment shops.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've gotten some of the best stuff from the free boxes that people have.
And this is the day of information, right? So there's Craigslist. There's all sorts of like postings for garage sales. You know, you can cruise around.
That's fun.
Yeah, exactly. So that's fun. Buy used rather than buy a new car. I mean, as soon as you buy that new car and it rolls off the lot, you just like lost so much money. You know, like let someone else pay for that depreciation. You know, buy a car that's lightly used or something like that. If you really want a new looking car. Consider like buying like used electronics, used anything you can trust. You know what I mean? Give it a shot. If you can save money, if you can save 50% on the cost of those things, you still have the things, and now you've decreased your living expenses and by that much. Auctions. Auctions are a great way. Again, you just go there, you see something. If you need it, especially for building materials. Sometimes like there's a barn that gets deconstructed. They're trying to sell a whole bunch of building materials, and people bid on some of the others, and now there's like this stuff that I'll throw. No one wants to bid on it. You know, throw a bid for $10, $20. Maybe you win. You know. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about. I would like to talk a little bit about. Don't go crazy in auctions. So people go crazy. The first time at an auction, they start bidding, and like someone bids against them. Like, no, I need that. And yeah, it's almost like a gambling kind of thing. Beware. Go to an auction, watch how it works once, and then kind of come back with maybe. Don't feel you need to buy anything. You're trying to save money, not trying to spend lots on stuff you maybe don't need. And I want to note that like if you can decrease your living expenses by this much, and that means eventually you don't need so much income, well then that you've also decreased your need for income tax, to pay income tax, right? So like you're feeding the beast a little bit less by disconnecting from these systems. You know, I wonder, I don't know if I'm anthropomorphizing or if I'm a little bit too conspiratorial, but like I don't think it's intentional, but it's certainly, these systems seem to be built with some kind of conscious purpose, or unintentional, intentional or intentional, I don't know, but they're built with a purpose that keeps us enslaved. It keeps us from, you know, being connected to ourselves, being connected to others. Like, why aren't people like doing these things? Like, why wouldn't everybody? I don't know. Why aren't there more intentional communities? Why are we like disconnected in time and place from people, and we live around strangers a lot of times? I wonder what systems are in place that like has encouraged that. Does anyone need one of these that came in? Yeah. Cool.
Oh, yeah, we'll share one. Yeah, absolutely. If we have one, because I really like this.
Oh. All right. Anybody else? Okay. So I want to read this little quote here, Gustav Laudauer. I think this quote gives me tingles. The state is a social relationship, a certain way of people relating to one another. It can be destroyed by creating new social relationships, by people relating to one another differently. And like for me, this is like, yeah, I want to transform how I relate to other people, and that's a way to destroy the state. That's a way of transforming my social relationships. That's a way for like showing that the state is not necessary. That's creating a institution of cooperation where everyone's needs get met.
He was a German anarchist, right? During
I think so, yeah.
Like pre or during World War II or something like that.
Actually, I'm drawing a little blank. Yes.
Yeah.
The timeline seems about right. And just for to wrap this kind of up, I'm actually going to read the Jacob Ludfisker quote as well. Obviously, we are all spending way the fuck more than we need to in this Western world, and it is a complete waste of our time, energy, happiness, and the entire planet. So let's analyze our true needs as humans and figure out efficient ways to meet all those needs. Then we can enjoy our new, more natural life by continuing to earn rich world wage for a few years. Since the earnings will be far more than our spendings, we will save and invest it, and the work portion will become optional. And so, like, that's kind of like what I'm suggesting here is that we can reduce our means. We're not buying into the systems that keep us wanting to buy more, and the systems that offer free money for loans. You know, get enslaved to this debt system. You know, if you want to end the Fed, don't get a mortgage. You know, try to avoid that. You know what I mean? Like you want to end the Fed, but you got a mortgage. Like there's a disconnect there. Like don't participate in their systems. If at least try. I mean, sometimes are necessary. You know, you got to live somewhere, and you want. You know, I'm not saying it's bad to do that. I just want to say like to get out from the system, you kind of need to find other ways. You need to try to transform the relationships in other ways. All right, so this is Jacob Ludfisker. What I've basically described to you is basically based off two books. It's the Jacob Ludfisker's Early Retirement Extreme, and also can't remember the guy's last name. Stephen. He wrote How to Survive Without a Salary: The Conservative Lifestyle. Yeah, Charles Long. Okay, Charles Long. So those two books basically inspired this first part. Now I'm going to want to talk about a little more of Rob Roy's part, because their kind of deal is save 50% or 80%. And then kind of like live off investments. So you're basically kind of like living your lifestyle for the rest of your life after that, and you're kind of just having fun. You're traveling Europe or Southeast Asia, or you're just kind of like slacking at the beach or anything else you want to do. Rob Roy says, let's like go even a little bit crazier, and let's create a new community, a new kind of community. And this is about, Rob Roy says, he wants to encourage us to say, maybe we don't need the kind of house we think we need. Maybe we don't need a house built by contractors, a stick frame house built by manufactured materials. Maybe it's possible to kind of like eliminate some of this stuff and use more natural techniques, incorporate natural materials, and reduce the amount of manufactured stuff we need that has like all this added value stuff. And by building the house ourselves, we save the money by being our own general contractor. And then we save all that labor. Well, we're spending the labor, but we're not having to pay. We're not having to work to pay someone else for that labor. We're not paying the taxes that they have to pay to charge us to do their labor. And it's kind of like just cutting out the system. So he says like, here's a plan. How about you work your job, you lower your expenses, you save up some of this money, and you go buy some land. And then you're continuing to work your job until you have enough money to like build like a little shack on that land. And like the shack is like $500. You know, it's something like 10 feet by 16 feet. And it's just kind of like a temporary home that you could survive a winter if you needed to. It's insulated, it has some kind of heating source. And if you're working full time, on the weekends, you drive up to your land, you live in your little shack, and out of your shack, you're then going to build a larger house, maybe something like the size of this tent. And you're going to try to incorporate natural materials and cheap building materials that you can get at auction or salvage from old barns or silos or chicken coops. And like in the country, there's all these kinds of buildings that are coming down. The wood that are connected to the ground might be rotting out. The stuff that's been up above, it's dry, it's fine, it's still good as long as it hasn't have wet rot or dry rot. It's still perfectly good wood, and you can get it for a fraction of the price. Another thing too is like mills. Mills will often have like reject lumber, like it has some imperfection, and like they're not going to plane it and all that kind of stuff. And like that stuff can be had for pennies on the dollar because they're just going to throw it away. They throw it in a scrap pile. They might just charge you for like a set rate to fill up a pickup truck, like $25, fill up the pickup truck whatever you want. That's the scrap pile, Or you bring a dump truck, $50, fill the dump truck, enjoy. Windows, you can do the same thing with windows. Glass manufacturers throw out glass all the time. It's reject glass. So like you can actually so even if it's broken, you can like cut it, make it rectangular again, snap that off, and now you've got a rectangular window, you frame it yourself. Rather than spend $100 for a window, you can spend $5 for a giant, picture window, and you just frame it yourself. Yeah.
Since you're talking about that specific thing, where we live, there's a Bella window supplier.
Yeah.
And we were driving by and we saw by their dumpster, they had windows just leaning against it. My husband went in there and said, I want to take those windows, is that a problem? And they're like, no, help yourself.
They have to pay money to throw it to the trash. They have to pay money to then send it to the landfill.
Free. We built our chicken coop with big Bella windows, which is like part of it. We open the windows and they come out and run in and out, but it was free, and they're probably better quality than what we have in our house. I mean, it's kind of strange.
Those are some cozy chickens.
There are people spending like 10 grand on greenhouses. And you could put it together. You could even stick frame them with 2x4s and frame it all yourself with free glass. Oh yeah, golly, there's opportunities out there to get even regular building materials for cheap, but even natural building materials. Like you can actually build with dirt. I just got back last July from Jamin Baconic's place, and we started a soil bag structure. And it's like you take dirt, you put it in a bag, you tamp it down, you lay it like bricks in a circle, and you can create a corbelled dome. And like the compression forces of the bags keep the dome up. And you're building a house out of dirt and plastic bags. And then all you gotta do is cover that, make sure the plastic isn't exposed to sunlight, and that could last for as long as Adobe lasts, 100 years, 50 years.
Really?
Very long term.
Special kind of bags or anything? That was one of the
polypropylene woven polypropylene. Yeah.
Okay. What do you use to tamp it down?
I use an asphalt tamper.
Okay.
Or you can take a coffee can and put a stick in the middle of the coffee can and pour concrete in there, and then use that coffee can with concrete in it. It will also be a tamper if you want a cheap one.
How big is each bag? Are they vary?
The bag size is 30 inches long.
30 feet.
8 inches wide, and they actually compact. They get about 12 inches wide when they're filled. I think it's 15 or 14 inches long. So they're kind of like, when they're filled, they're like this. Something like that. And you just created like instant bricks, essentially. And of course, you don't get much more fireproof than your house made out of dirt. And talk about the thermal mass too. Like now you have hugely thick walls with some thermal mass that actually absorbs heat. If you position that house facing toward the southern exposure, because we're in the northern hemisphere, face the sun will arc. Now in the summertime it arcs high, and in the wintertime it arcs low. In the summertime, we don't want a lot of heat in our house. So we create a little overhang on our windows so the sun's rays in the summertime hit the overhang and not the windows. In the wintertime, when it gets a little bit lower, now this, in the spring and fall, now the light is actually coming in our house. It's hitting the walls and the floor. It's warming those up. And that heat is just kind of like sinking into the whole structure. And then even at night, the heat starts coming back out. And so your house is like, it's called passive solar heating. And all you gotta do is have enough windows on that southern exposure to collect that energy and store it and save it. And then it'll be released at night. And then every day. And then there are people, John Haidt wrote a book called Annualized Thermal Inertia. And he's designed houses where they need no heating whatsoever. They stay at a constant 72 degrees. And it's all by sunlight, all by thermal mass, and the windows being placed correctly. And that's a beautiful thing. And imagine having zero energy costs because your free windows are collecting the energy for you with dirt. Yeah, okay, so yeah, the mortgage free, Rob Roy has a book called Mortgage Free. Actually, it's hard to find a good, a new copy. I think it's like out of print right now.
Piracy.
And yeah, maybe Torrance has it. I couldn't find a quick copy online. I had to go buy one for like 20 bucks. I was like, ugh, that's a lot of money for a book. But it's excellent. I actually am glad I purchased it because it is very valuable. But yeah, so he says, save your money, get that grub stake, buy the land, build that shack, use the shack to build your house. Don't build the shack too comfortable. You'll never build that house. Build the shack so it's a little cramped. You kind of want to get out of there. Build that house, and there's a lot of different techniques. Rob Roy actually specifically likes a technique called cordwood masonry. You buy firewood from somebody, and you ask them, like, how long is this seasoned? Do you want firewood that's been seasoned for like 2 years? And then what you do is what he likes to do is have a contractor come out and pour him a concrete slab on gravel. It's an old technique called a floating slab. You don't need an expensive foundation. You can do this floating slab for like $5 grand, a big building, $5 grand floating slab. A normal foundation would cost you like 20 grand. So it's like the floating slab is so much less expensive because you don't need to dig down, you don't need to construct walls, you don't need to do all this other stuff. It's just a floating concrete slab on gravel, and the gravel protects the slab from frost damage. Because if the water in the gravel does freeze, it just moves the gravel around a little bit, and then the gravel just kind of replaces and resettles. So you get drainage, and you get that protection from frost damage. And he built the cordwood masonry. So he takes firewood, and he puts a piece of firewood down, and then he puts 2 things of cement, and then another piece of firewood.